Live. Hello, everybody. It is Zach, the Dark Conservatarian. I'm sorry to say here, but apparently the information of me being so anti-woman and such a big-time sexist and anti-bodily autonomy and just literally wanting to legislate to enslave women into the kitchen and just cleaning the house and whatnot. I'm sorry, all that is just kind of turned off Alicia Clegg, aka Toxic Threads, to not even want to do this interview in the first place. So sorry, it's just going to be me and just a plain old news stream at this point. Just kidding. Yes, so hello, it is DarkCon, and I'm here with Toxic Threads. Say hi, Toxic.
Hi guys, how's everybody doing? Hopefully well, because we're living in a weird, sick society, aren't we?
Yep. Yeah. So
somebody's saying that you don't like chicks, you don't like women, you want them to be slaves in the kitchen. What did I miss?
it's just a bit of an inside reference towards mainly Owen McDonald and most recently a guy named Tim Horn on YouTube. They're like calling me sexist, anti-woman, anti-bodily autonomy, and all that other crap because of my abortion beliefs. Me being like particularly legislatively against abortion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the big thing. As to why that I get called woman-hating, anti-woman, or whatever, and I just like to tease on that insult that gets thrown at me, saying, "Oh yeah, I literally hate women. I want to just legislate them as a whole bunch of slaves, literally make them men's property and strip away the right to vote, blah, blah, blah." But no,
like statistically, globally, right? So if we do globally, wouldn't that make you a woman lover because the majority of babies aborted are girls?
Yeah, well, try telling that to the pro-abortion / pro-choice crowd. Although I do have some pro-choicers in my fan base, and they are rather good faith and fair people. It's just the pro-choicers and pro-abortionists from the more extreme camps from other YouTube channels that go haranguing me about my abortion beliefs.
Well, it's kind of sad that we've gotten to a place in society where we're not even thinking of actual rights anymore. It just seems like everybody's focused on, I don't know, like debauchery and just being able to get away with as much shit as you can for as long as you can, and nobody ever. The society seems like that we've become like really selfish and self-centered, and no more so than like the socialists or the Maoists or the Leninists. They're very, very selfish, but so are these way left-wing type progressives. They're just into debauchery. I don't even think they understand what a human right really means anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Sad. It's
sad.
sad.
I know I have, I guess it's kind of one of the things that we'll first start off on. We'll get to talking about your current channel and your past channel and what main subjects you talk about in a bit, but I guess that's what we'll open up with. I know my approaches that I have when people like throw those insults and rather smears and straw men, might I say, out at me. But what would you just say to somebody who says you're anti-bodily autonomy, you're a woman hater, or whatever, because they are against abortion? And not just philosophically against abortion, but even on the legal side, want to ban most to all of it.
I think this is the problem, okay? I think most people have been lied to, right? They don't understand what life really means. They don't understand the concept of what is actually involved. Because I used to be I wasn't like pro-abortion, but I was pro-choice. I never really thought about it because I'd grown up Gen X. We just learned, oh, it's just cells, right? Clump of cells. There's nothing wrong with getting rid of a clump of cells. So it was my daughter's 21st birthday. We went to Las Vegas for her 21st birthday because you have to go for your 21st birthday. And we went to the body museum. By the way, a lot of those bodies in the body museum were prisoners taken by China and killed to be sold. Yeah, human trafficking. But anyway, there was this section at the end that showed babies, like little, not baby, what are they called when they're in the womb? Zygote I don't know what it's called. Anyway,
I
babies.
think it's
They're babies.
zygote for before like 10 weeks or no.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know
we
the
went,
exact terminology, but I know that 8 to 10 weeks and onward, they're called
yeah,
fetuses.
yeah. So we went all the way down, and this little tiny baby, like tiny little pea-like size thing, it had like little fingernails even.
Hmm.
And we both were like, we were kind of drunk because it was her first time to be able to drink legally and have fun. And we were like in shock because we'd been lied to our whole lives. I mean, obviously we could have researched, right? We just didn't bother. Why are you going to research? So it was the most shocking thing to me where I was like, I don't know how I feel about this anymore.
So you
So
think that it's because of ignorance as to why that people end up going throwing out the straw men and smears of you hate women, you're anti-bodily autonomy if you're against abortion, whatnot?
I actually do believe that ignorance is driving our society, but it's a different kind of ignorance. So, uh, remember my main focus of my first video, I started it because I was becoming an expert on brainwashing. I really wanted to understand brainwashing and control. And I went through all of the steps. And what can happen here is that you can get to a place where you are so brainwashed and it's it, they're literally they can't see the other side because they truly believe they're being taught right now in school in it with the CSE that women are dying every few minutes from being pregnant. Okay, so they're getting shoved with all of these statistics where they are literally afraid. It would be like, so you're not old enough to know what it was like when HIV first came on the scene, AIDS, right?
Right.
When
That would have
AIDS
been like
first
the
came on,
80s, right?
yeah, yeah. So I was in junior high when this just exploded, and I can tell you the fear mongering. We we got to the point where people didn't even like shake hands anymore, and we were all ignorant, but it's an example of we didn't have that information and we're so frightened. So these younger people,
You're treating it
they're
like the Black
literally,
Plague, yeah?
yeah, they're literally thinking women are dying because they get pregnant. They think that they're choosing to save a woman who's already born. They really are. I mean, it's if you I wish people could have been in my mind the moment I saw that baby, because it was as if I fell off a cliff. It was as if all this knowledge had just been poured into me, and I just was like, we've been lied to.
Yeah, life of mother is a very rare circumstance, like less than 1% or something around that. But to kind of argue, well, okay, was you saying that back then that was what the mindset was, that over half or most abortions are because women's life are in danger or whatever?
That's what they say. And then they also, what they do
You
is,
don't think
you have to
that's
understand, everybody's been programmed to believe this, right? So also, okay, here's a really big problem that needs to be addressed, which would help the people that want to get rid of abortion. First off, everybody needs to know of the most effective kind of birth control there is, you know. And too often these young little girls go to Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood gives them the least effective birth control, knowing to get that revenue. Their job is to get that golden revenue because it's very expensive, $800 a pop, $800 a pop, which is nice cash flow into them. So girls need to be taught on good birth control. We need to legalize male birth control, which there is male birth control, but they won't legalize it because of the feminists. They, you know, God forbid. And
male.
then
Wait, is that supposed to like make their to start to put it
it
kind of
doesn't,
crudely? Is it to like make their semen less effective or something?
yeah, what you can do is you can neutralize the swimming power of the sperm.
Okay, that.
And then it's
All right.
completely reversible, but they, for some reason, they don't want men to have control over their body, right? So women can control their bodies, but men can't have control over their bodies. Um, and also, we need to change the laws of where if you have been actually convicted, it is a real rape, not this fake shit, but a real rape. you should not be able to get custody of that child.
Oh
And
yeah, that's kind of an issue that I have. Is some state laws that allow rapists to see their family. That's something that Tim Horn, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, was kind of acting
yeah,
like as if I was defending or something. Like, yeah, he was
no.
going off a whole bunch of straw men. But go on.
Yeah, no. So it's sad and it's scary. So if you were like 12 years old and you were raped, what if you this is what I try to tell women, and this is why the whole rape thing is a lie. If you go to the doctor, you will get the morning after pill, and it's like 99% effective. There's like literally the morning after pill is so effective. I don't know why we haven't put the abortion industry out of business. Because if you can teach people, right, laws don't work. Laws are shitty. It doesn't matter if it's legal or illegal, you will find a way around it. So we need to teach people proper birth control methods, proper things, and then we can end the abortion epidemic because it's not going to be necessary anymore.
So, do you ultimately believe in banning most abortions, shutting down abortion mills, abortion clinics, or whatever that give out abortions to at a certain period in the pregnancy or something? Do you believe in banning abortion?
So I'll tell you,
There's no
I'm
wrong answer.
again.
I'm just asking.
No. It's a hard thing. You have to understand. I used to be like whatever, and now it's like I don't. It was so jarring to me. I don't like to think about. I don't think. I really would like to see the backing it back up, where at least to that. I don't like it being illegal, but I don't like it being legal. I definitely the late term abortions need to be gone. I don't know how the hell that passed. I just would like it's so if you outlaw abortions, the women I see it's because I was in foster care that I get kind of kerfluffled, right? I've seen really awful parents. So then I'm kind of like at a conundrum where, and it's not very many though. So that's the problem. Is like they like really how many shitty parents are there really? So am I just kind of having latent brainwashing, or where am I at? Where am I at? Because I believe it's murder. So I'm at the stage where I think it's murder, but at the same time I'm like, oh, should we just like get rid of it? And it becomes this dilemma because I've known really horrific people.
Oh shit, we lost toxic threats. That was rather quick. 1 second. I lost you. All right. Sorry, everybody. Press F to pay respects. Yes, everybody. Press F to pay respects to Toxic Threads or Alicia Clegg's crappy connection right now. Holy crap. Hopefully she can get back in here soon enough because she was like in the middle of a bit of a on a bit of a groove there, I would say. So, all right. I'm going to just read some of the chat comments while waiting for her. Just chat with you for a bit. Chat. JC Armitage says, really? Most babies that are aborted are girls. Does China have something to do with that? The first statement there, yeah, that's kind of something that Alicia brought up, and that is a kind of a bit of irony. Like if I was really anti-woman, well, then that would mean that I would be for an exception. Like I would also be for an aborting unborn girls exception or something like that. It's just freaking stupid. Yeah. Hello, memes. Memes of destruction. Alicia told me this was in another hour. Oops. Sorry about that, John. I think we're getting confusion on time zones or something. Dang, what the heck happened? Okay, she just seen my Twitter messages, so hopefully she'll come back on here in a bit. Um, Otherwise, good evening. Yeah, yes. Hello, John. I forget that you're like in the UK. Actually, no, I did. I did not really forget, but oh well. Hello, True Grave, and hello, Common Sense Guy. There's an injection that stops semen producing straight to the testicles, says Common Sense Guy. Wouldn't that be like I don't know. I don't know what the proper term would that would be. I don't want to say castrating because castrating would be completely just cutting it off. um, Chemical. Geez, the term is like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. Planned Parenthood. Thomas Sowell would call that static. What? What, Truegrave? Oh, I don't know what you're trying to say there. JC Armitage says Planned Parenthood is what corpo surviving almost entirely. I think he meant to. They meant to say corporation right there. Planned Parenthood is what a corporation surviving almost entirely on government subsidies looks like. Yeah, exactly. And I don't care if like all the money is meant by the government to not go for Planned Parenthood's abortions. I just entirely believe in defunding Planned Parenthood. Full stop. Don't care where that money officially goes to. And we have Alicia back on. What the heck happened there?
I don't know. It's like all of a sudden my phone kicks me off. Am I echoing?
Not really.
Hold on.
Although I did slightly hear myself there.
Okay, is that better?
She's even sweeter in real life. Memes of Destruction says. Did you and Memes of Destruction meet in person or something?
Did we?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if...
I meet lots of people.
I don't know. I don't know if Memes is talking about a different person or is referring to you, but...
I caught the tail end of you saying to defund Planned Parenthood. I agree 100%.
Okay, yeah. Common Sense Guy says no, he meant Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, that makes sense. Never mind then. I am starting to hear a little bit of reverb from my voice on your end, though.
I'm trying to figure out why it's doing
Easy fix would be to put on earbuds or headphones or something.
I do.
Oh.
I have them on.
That's funny.
Well, it's probably...
Something that I kind of wanted to mention before you had cut out there is that you're concerned about criminalizing abortion is that the kids would end up with bad parents that kind of, in reality, to put it bluntly, hate their own kids. That's kind of a similar mindset that Don the Pleb kind of has. He kind of explained to me in my first interview that I had with him. He said that he finds abortion to be immoral, but because it's so immoral and these people want to do it so badly, he doesn't want them having any children. So therefore, keep it decriminalized. And honestly, I don't disagree with. I don't agree with that. I almost said don't disagree. I don't agree with that because it just seems like morally and ethically not viable, in my opinion. And
so that's
go on.
It is my mic. Oh God, I'm so sorry. So the problem we have is a moral problem with society. I would urge anyone to watch my baby box video. The reason for it is that in the United States, you can get free birth control, you can get a free abortion, and yet 500 babies in the United States every year are just tossed into a river, just abandoned to die alone. And we even have baby boxes. So it's not really the abortion that's the issue here, I think. And that's where I think the real issue is that society doesn't care about life anymore.
Right. That is like one of the moral issues of it. I mean, even if abortion was to be banned, even if their right to life was to be recognized, then there would still be, or if it was still to be legally recognized by the judicial system, by the courts and whatnot, you're still going to have like individual parents of the children that they originally wanted to abort ending up abandoning their children, like dumping them in dumpsters or on the streets or whatever, like you mentioned there. And yeah, I think the issue is overall the recognition of human life, and I think that all those practices should be banned just outright. That's kind of where I do disagree with Dawn on. I mean, ban abortion, like stop the abortion right now, and when the moment happens that the parents do start abusing their kids, then we take that as we go. I kind of look at that as a let's cross that bridge when we come to it kind of issue.
Well, what I would
Whereas
like to
Don
see,
seemed to be putting the
yeah,
cart before the horse almost,
I
for lack of
think,
better wording.
I honestly believe that if we got rid of Planned Parenthood and abortion clinics, so let's say you keep abortion, legal up to a 12 weeks, which is pushing it because everybody knows babies still at 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's immoral. But if you were to close down every Planned Parenthood,
Yeah, I want to ban it all the way down to 7 weeks, but go on.
well, and realistically, you can take a pregnancy test now before your missed period. So if there was, that would be the best thing to do, is to start teaching about that, right? But what Planned Parenthood has done through their training and their education is they're utilizing abortion to demoralize both males and females. Control, it's to help push an agenda and to make people so focused on sex and gluttonous sex that
Right.
they can't be reasonable, rational people anymore. So I believe if you were to shut down all Planned Parenthood, don't allow them to educate children, and you had girls actually going to a gynecologist that would help them really prevent having a child, to that unwanted pregnancy, we wouldn't even have to, this wouldn't even be a conversation, because abortions, it would be gone. That people would not be seeking out using abortion as birth control. You know, that's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, what I kind of want to do is, I guess it ain't technically an abortion. I don't know. It wouldn't be an abortion prevention, anyways. It'd be more like shutting down the abortion clinics and other health practitioners that do abortions like at a certain point, like for example, past the 7 week period that I want it stopped at, you know. But and any individual woman that is like gonna like do a self-induced abortion, I mean, the only way that you're going to be able to outright stop that is if you have like a security camera in every household in America, which that really sets a bad precedence. NSA spying anyone, so therefore I don't see any feasible way of preventing it on the individual level. But on the health practitioner level, we can stop it via taking away their licenses or just shutting down their establishment and fine them, or even if it
Well,
gets so bad, put them in jail or whatever
well,
else have you.
start
But
taking
for
steps.
wait, if I may finish,
Yeah,
but
go
if on
ahead.
the individual mother level, I don't even think that, for the most part, anyways, they have the guts to like do a self-induced abortion for the most part. Go on.
Well, usually self-induced abortion is really a chemical cocktail that women's use. You know what I mean? So it's not, nobody, this idea of the wire hanger bullshit, the back alley abortion, all of that is just so not true. It's so not true. It was so rare, and just, I mean, you would have to be a completely desperate woman in that situation, and I just don't think women are in that kind of desperate situation now. We can have jobs, we can welfare. Jesus Christ, you know. I agree with you. I don't, but I don't want to. I think you would want to take it in steps, because we've gone so far off the rails that I think the best step would be to pull all funding to Planned Parenthood. Next step, Planned Parenthood is not allowed in schools at all, period. They shouldn't even be near schools. And we need to teach girls about all the birth control and, again, legalize birth control for men.
Yeah, it seems that I always kind of thought that you're of the conservative mindset and school and just ideology, but it seems that you're rather more libertarian or liberal when it comes to the whole birth control side of pregnancy and abortion issue. Uh, but we'll get to that in a little bit. 7 week. I want to address the chat just a little bit. Pumpkin Rose says 7 weeks is arbitrary. It's a life at the moment of conception. Well, 7 weeks is arbitrary. Brainwaves are not arbitrary, which brainwaves are detected around 6.5 weeks. That is what I'm basing my when I think it should be banned off of Pumpkin Row. And the Common Sense Guy, Dark Console, you agree the government should ban some stuff and interfere in social laws? I believe that the government should be like as it exists anyways. I mean, whether or not it should exist at all or not is an issue on itself. That's getting into anarchism versus statism debate. But the government as it exists should recognize people's rights and prevent it as much as they can. Like in the case of the Parkland shooting, Scott Israel should have gave the order out to have the shooter shot. But no, he told the deputy to stand down, unfortunately. So for the protection of those children's right to life, he should have given that call, just as an example. And by extension, on the issue of abortion, we recognize the right to life of everybody, like the right not to be killed by anyone in almost all circumstances, but abortion is how I look at it. And that statement I kind of applied to John as well, where he says this sounds unpleasantly authoritarian. Prohibition doesn't work. Just end up with backstreet abortions again. Well, protection of the right to life, I don't think is authoritarian. So yeah. I forgot what else I was wanting to say about the whole issue about abortion. Yeah, my 2 cents, as he just said in the chat, stopping abortion is morally equivalent to preventing a murder. That's not authoritarian. All right. Yeah, thanks, my 2 cents. The question is of what method, of course, that we take on that. And obviously, ANCAPs don't want us to take the government route of stopping murders in general. But so I guess getting off of the issue of abortion. So, Toxic Threads is actually, or could I just call you Alicia? All right, so Alicia Clegg is the first cis female for me to have as a main guest on my channel. So yeah, just in case, just a little bit of trivia there.
Whoa!
What?
I'm just a female. I'm a woman. Actually, a derogatory term that was thought up about 15 years ago. So I reject that term.
Sorry.
It's all right.
But I just thought I'd clarify, particularly for the people who are more trans friendly or whatever, because I did have a trans female on once, feminine degenerate. But yeah. So explain to us your channel. You had a channel once before that got deleted by YouTube, and now you're on your current channel, Toxic Threads.
Yeah, it was so bad. So what I do, right? I was teaching brainwashing, and then I was exposing cults. And I came across a cult that I probably shouldn't have talked about, and that the billionaire associated with the cult got my channel shut down. Yeah.
The occult?
It's a cult, yeah. What is the cult called? I don't want to get your channel shut down, but it's something like the Church of Perpetual Life, something like that.
I haven't heard of it.
Something it's a very small cult, and what they want to do is their dogma is transhumanism. So what they want to do is they want to live forever, and they're going to meld with machines so that they can live forever. And
some chappy kind of stuff.
So what they do, though, is that in order to prime their people to be prepared to start slowly transitioning into a robot, they encourage that if you're a chick, you got to go to dude, and if you're a dude, you go to chick, so you can feel what it likes to start the transition. Also, the question that I'd ask, and the one that is obviously very obvious, is the carrying capacity of a human being. That would mean we would probably only be able to have like 500 million people, and no one would be able to have kids ever again. So what? How are you going to do that? How are you going to live forever? How? Like, think about that, you guys. What would happen if they find a way for us to live forever? What's going to happen?
I don't know. The question, the issue that I would have is them enforcing it in some sort of way to forcefully getting it to the point of there's only 500 million people on Earth or whatever. But so your current channel, if I may, like, just question, I have a few questions about your channel. It seems that currently and primarily you focus more on sex predatory type stuff and internet censorship, or at least that's what I've seen you for the most part talk about on your channel. You approach those topics on like a more conservative perspective. Do I have that right, or is there like any other subjects that you talk about?
There is no conservative or liberal way when it comes to children, period. The
Okay.
conservative way of raising children leads to the problem that we've had. The liberal way of raising children is led to the problems that we have. The only solution was to come up with a new form of parenting, right? Because all of the parents in the past, you know, they did their best. They did their best. They played their little games, but it's all wrong. It's all wrong, every single one of them. When it comes to your child's education, you should be doing it yourself if you can. I realize there are some people out there that do not have the mental capacity to do it. And by all means, send them to school. But otherwise, the school system is designed to make whatever the state wants of your children, period. It is a disgusting mill of, and it has gone into degeneracy where, and I'm not talking about like having premarital sex. I could give two shits about that kind of stuff. But they have been working since the Kinsey Institute came into power and spread all their bullshit lies. They have been working on legalizing sex with kids. That has been their goal, and they're almost there. And if we do that, then our society is over. It will crumble. It is crumbling. We are already crumbling. We're probably only about 15 years away from the total destruction of the West. And this is just driving it home. And I'm trying to fight against that right now because it's now infiltrating. Like, I see people on Facebook posting, "Oh, pedophiles are good. They don't hurt kids. It's all a fucking lie." And it's pissing me off.
The supposed non-offending maps. You're muted, by the way.
Sorry, there's no such thing. If you are a pedophile and you say you're a pedophile, every single one we've gone after, they have done it. They already have done it. That's how they know they're pedophile. They don't just wake up. Almost all of every single one we've exposed has harmed children. Every single one. There is not one deviant that we have found, not one, that hasn't harmed a child. Not one. It is a lie. It is a fallacy. They are not born that way. That is a lie. You're not born that way. And the only study that does show that there are some that are born that way, they have an extremely low IQ and child mentality where it's not even, it's just that they're attracted to their able group.
They're like a low functioning inbred autist.
They and also all the statistics that people give out are fucking fudged and lied about. It's not true. And you have so many people breeding into this lie. And it all started back when Kinsey, this disgusting piece of shit, this disgusting perverted man, decided to change all of society because he was a deviant. And it has slowly spiraled down. And He makes
I
me
was
mad.
I was about to mention like Jeffrey Epstein because that seems to be like some of the center of like of all this whole issue. Um, the conspiracy about we're just controlled by a bunch of pedophiles, or I do not know what the exact conspiracy is about that, but that Jeffrey Epstein was key to exposing many of the pedophiles in the upper ranks of government, but apparently but then he was like assassinated, suicided by some Clinton crony or something like that. I did not know if you had some commentary to make in connection with Jeffrey Epstein on your whole spiel here.
Okay, so when you look into brainwashing, what you find out is that the most effective tool is not brainwashing because it's pretty hard. It's behavior control, right? The best way to control behavior is through blackmail and through sexual deviance. Those are the two ways. And so what you did is that like the CIA, how they would blackmail people in power that were gay, right? So because it was illegal, right? So that's where the ball started rolling. They're like, maybe we can do this. So then they had this side project where they started using prostitutes to blackmail people. And then they found out that the more deviant the sexual behavior, the more control that you can have. And so that
Your audio keeps on going in and out for some reason. Like you'll be speaking and sounding normal for a while, and then like about a minute or two later, you'll have a quick second of where that you're.
let me go get a different microphone.
Ooh.
I'm going to go get a different microphone, okay? Give me just a second.
All right, we'll wait. All right, so a lot of action in the chat here. As always, I really appreciate the participation in the chat, everybody. Wait, transhumanists don't believe in ectogenesis birthing, says Night Shift. Okay. I literally came here from looking up if there is any disasters that could trigger a new supercontinent forming within our lifetimes. Well, I don't know how I got into the recommendations of that search right there, Night Shift. Apparently, Toxic Threads is going to release such a controversial statement that's going to shift the continents again. Oh, holy shit, she's back again. No. All right, so testing, one, two,
Is
three.
that better? No, it's worse. Is that worse?
It doesn't sound worse right now. It's just that my main thing was of how that your volume would just immediately get raised down from like 9 to 2 on the volume scale or something like that for a split second. And then it'll go back to normal right afterwards. But yeah, anyway, let's just wait and see if we'll still have those issues. But what you were saying about Jeffrey Epstein, or you weren't talking about, you were talking about brainwashing and manipulation of gay men in prison or something like that?
So no, like because
Sorry, I might have missed something, but go on.
being gay back in the day was illegal. So if they could get a politician that was gay, they would blackmail them. And that's ultimately what we're seeing in the case, is that because he was such a deviant, he had recordings of all these men. He could then sell those recordings to someone, and then that person can blackmail the politician.
Okay.
Right?
Wait, who? He? Are you talking about Epstein?
Epstein. Yeah, Epstein. Yeah. He was a smart business model.
So Epstein had recordings of all these other sexual deviants. He was about to expose them or something like that, and
He would have never exposed them. That's
Okay.
such a lie. We know that they're
never
all.
mind. Sorry, I don't know the very nitty gritty details of what people are trying to get on him or whatever. I just I'm a more of a layman when it comes to the issue of Jeffrey Epstein. All I know is guy who's like a big time friend, I think a friend of the Clintons anyways, had his own pedophile island, gets taken into custody and put in jail and put on suicide watch, put in jail because of his pedophilia being found. He was about to go in for questioning to, I guess, ask if there was like any more pedophiles in his ranks or whatever. But then he gets the official narrative is that he committed suicide, but most people believe, or know rather, that it's really a Clinton crony or someone else like that that killed him themselves. That's pretty much all I know.
Well, and that's all that anyone will know because somebody has probably got all his information and is going to continue to use the blackmailing thing. So that's where we're at in our society. We're run by a bunch of corrupt people that are corruptible, and it's been happening for a long time. This is nothing new.
Right. Um, I don't know if there's anything else you had to say about that, but I just kind of wanted to ask out of curiosity, like, how much have you ever talked about guns or gun rights on your channel?
I don't ever talk about it, but I'm very pro Second Amendment. I think everybody should have it. Nobody has the right to tell you how to defend yourself, and a gun is the great equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
Period. If somebody wants to take away your guns, they're evil. They're saying, no, you don't have the right to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm, pretty much.
End of story. It's ridiculous. Like, I think it's disgusting and disturbing the way that the country, we cannot give up the Second Amendment. We cannot give up our guns. If we give up our guns, tyranny
Sorry.
will reign forever. Yeah.
Right. It's just I never seen your content on that, and it just made me a little bit curious. You don't make any response videos to other content creators hardly at all, do you?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I realize that's more of my own format, and even my buddy S Man Speaks, who used to do response videos all the time, he's kind of veered off of that, and he does just general topic videos and short story video reports, kind of like what it seems you do. You just do short play-by-play videos, kind of
Yeah.
talking about news and whatnot.
Yeah. I'm kind of trying to. The only good thing about losing my channel is that I'm working harder on my channel to make better quality content. And sometimes I do use propaganda against socialists and communists. But I just feel like we're to a point now where if we're going to stay on the course where America's going, there will be no more America. And this is our last stand. So we have to continue. No matter how many times your YouTube channel is deleted, you must reinstate yourself. We cannot hand this over to the progressive agenda.
Mm. Right, and obviously I'll never back down from the fight. I mean, even if come around the turn of the new year and Copa, like or COPPA, whatever, forces me to keep all my shit private on my YouTube channel, I'll migrate my content to BitChute, which, by the way, I do have a BitChute account, everybody. It's called The Dark Conservatarian, just like this channel right here. Check it out. Have some of my content mirrored on there. I'll have to like get some more of my content moved from here to there. But anyway, so you mentioned communists and socialists, like if you were talking about them. So you do talk about economics occasionally?
I have an entire playlist on communism and socialism. An entire playlist. I really hit hard against the UN global agenda. So it's really bad. It's the United Nations is the one that's pushing the pedophile agenda, which is also funded by Planned Parenthood that is pushing the pedophile agenda because they're pieces of shit. They really are. But I have to.
United States funds both UN and Planned Parenthood. Who funds UN?
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird circle right there. The U.S. funds Planned Parenthood. Who funds UN? Who also gets funded by the U.S.?
Yeah.
Weird.
It's a shuffle.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, if everybody goes, check out my social, I think I have a playlist on, it's either called socialism or, so I have the UN, I have a UN playlist, I have pedophile playlist, I have a socialism playlist. I used to have a brainwashing playlist, but that's not on my older channel. Of course, I have a blog, you know, normal shit in your life. You don't want it to be all political. But no, I go hardcore against socialism and communism. I absolutely, that is the worst idea that ever was shit out of somebody's brain. Plato, motherfucker. Wish he was never born.
Uh, what was I gonna? What you say was the worst idea? Communism and socialism.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I did not know if you were referring to going after communists and socialists, hardcore going after them, kind of like how I sort of do, I guess. Well, not as hardcore as some ANCAPs would, but you get my drift. Um,
Yeah.
and so obviously you do talk about abortion, and so what I want to kind of like ask you about, and it was something mentioned by Pumpkin Row as well. I cannot remember where he said it, but he got talking about the reason why abortion is a thing is that, oh, found it. Pumpkin Row, the only reason people use abortion in the first place is because the government interfere in adoption to make it more difficult, and they protect people who use abortion as a method of murder. More focusing on that first part of that statement, do you think that adoption laws, well, should be loosened up, maybe even eradicated altogether? And do you think that LGBT people should be legally allowed to adopt children, foster kids?
Okay, so adoption should not be loosened. That's, you have to understand that if you were, so to adopt a child, it is the one time that they are allowed to open up your juvenile records, which they should be able to do. Because many convicted as children, like under 17, raping kids, should not be allowed to adopt the kid. And do you know how many of the
There was some people that end up raping kids. Sorry, I got confused. Repeat that
okay,
last statement.
if if you are under the age of 18, anything you do wrong is sealed, right? Nobody can see that. Okay? But if you're going to adopt, they can unseal those records. And the reason for that is so many predators that were between, 15, 16, 17, 18 had raped children, were attempting to adopt children. So the adoption laws should be that strict because the one thing they're looking for is to make sure you didn't rape any kids. So it really is the
Oh,
adopt.
you want to make sure that nobody has kind of a criminal background in that sort of area before they adopt.
Yeah, that's already the law, though.
Okay,
That is a good law. That is a good law where, because it's been shown that if you're between the ages of 15 and 17 and you rape a five and under, you'll probably do it again. The stats are really high that you're going to do it again, right? So we're talking the end of teenage years. So what the adoption process is, they make sure that you're not a rapist, even when you were a child. And then they make sure that you're healthy, right? So you can't have like be dying and adopt a kid. So it's really not that hard to adopt. I don't know why anyone says that. I've seen it many times. It's not hard to adopt. It's just there's not enough kids to adopt. And there's plenty of children in foster care, but nobody wants to adopt teenagers.
I don't know if there's like any examples aside from that. Well, I would have to like think about that, form more of an opinion on about those laws. But I don't know if there are like any other laws that people could refer to in the chat that also makes it hard for people to adopt, even outside of checking somebody's criminal record or their health, as you mentioned. But I did not hear this part of my question kind of addressed. Do you think that LGBT couples, like gay couples, should be allowed to adopt a foster kid, for example?
Okay, so you want to not have sexual deviance, right? So I'm fine with gay men adopting children. I don't have a problem with that.
Or even lesbian couples?
Well, that one is a little bit trickier just because they have such a high rate of abuse towards each other. And so as far as two female, I'm a little bit like scared about that, you know, a little bit
I mean,
scared. But that, what I would do to solve that is that you have to allow the people that are giving up the child for adoption to pick the parents, and then it can be on a private basis. I'm not like for a law to make it illegal.
okay. So let that go on the record, everybody. Toxic Threads is not for banning, not necessarily for banning lesbian couples from adopting, but my question on that, it ain't like a super majority of lesbians are abusive towards each other, are they?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
It is a super
Yeah,
majority.
go look at the FBI statistics and then go, you know what's fun to do? This is really what's fun. Okay. I just found out that a lot of FBI statistics are skewed now because of certain laws that have passed. And so a lot of crimes have just disappeared, right? They just disappear. So what you do is, and I actually encourage everybody to do this. The last year I've spent in court, every week I went to court. And so I watched all these people come in and then see what they're charged with, right? So you can kind of get a sense of what really is going on in your community if you sit there once a week for a year. And in every single court that I was at, every single court, there was at least two lesbian couples that were abusing each other. Every
Okay,
court.
wait 1 second. I haven't like read this entire paper right here, but just opening up on the surface. This is from musc.edu. I do not know which college or whatever that specifically. But how common is lesbian partner violence? About 17 to 45% of lesbians report having been the victim of at least one act of physical violence perpetrated by a lesbian partner. Types of physical abuse, blah blah blah. But yeah, 17 to 45%. Just looking at that paragraph right there by itself. Of course, that could be like a little bit off base there, but it doesn't seem to be a super majority. Not even quite half. It's a little less than half. It seems.
You're
I
gonna
mean,
have to
even
you're gonna have to dig into the FBI statistics. I would not trust anything coming out of academia right now if it was like it's all shit. It's all shit foundation. And that's where we're at, dark con. This is where we're at in society where all of our information is shit. Go to the FBI statistics, you'll find a PDF file that it'll break it down. It's kind of like when they talk about girls are molested more than boys, they're raped more than boys, which is actually true, but it's because there's a separate section for anal sex rape. And guess who's the majority of that? 97% are boys. But that's not even, it's not ages, they don't use that.
your audio still keeps on jumping in and out between volumes for some reason. We'll try and tolerate it, but if you that issue cannot be solved, but I thought I'd just like give you an FYI on that. True Grave asks a question. I think he said then, but I think he meant to spell a T and not an N right there. He asks, "Is it better that the state have the kids?" Is his question. He's typically asked this when it comes to the whole LGBT adoption issue in general, like especially ever since this
The
one. Go on.
the problem is not the adoption. The problem is that nobody adopts teenagers and kids. There's not enough babies to be adopted. It's only teenagers and kids. And I don't have a problem with the LGBT adopting. I have a problem with it at all. But nobody wants the teenagers and kids. So how are you going to fix that? You're not going to fix it by saying, "Oh, the gays and the trans can have the kids," because nobody's adopting them anyway.
Not going to go away entirely, but it is going to like allow more people to possibly adopt, and it might not even be that high of an amount of kids that get adopted, but you're going to ultimately loosen up the market, for lack of better wording, the market of children getting adopted for more to be adopted by more customers, let's say.
Where is it? It's not illegal for gay people to adopt. You just had to be married. That was the loophole. And now gay people can get married. So, in what state is it illegal for someone to adopt?
You know, honestly, I guess I do not know that for certain if it is illegal or not. All I just know is that the issue was kind of brought up on Twitter a few days ago. Mark Dice was tweeting about Charlie Kirk being for allowing LGBT people to adopt. Like, he would prefer that if adoption was only with straight couples, but ultimately he doesn't want the government getting really
It's
that
not.
much.
It's not true because
What?
a lot of gay men adopt a lot of unwanted black children. So I don't know what
Wait, what?
any.
What did I mention about that?
No, you didn't. So it's not illegal. I don't. The only you can adopt as long as you're married. You have to be married though.
Oh, I would have to look up as to where it is illegal. I just know that the issue gets thrown around quite often, and whether or not it is legal or illegal, I guess just in general, the question was, are you for allowing it? And you've asked, and you've kind of answered that somewhat you are for allowing it, but that I guess at this point that's neither here nor there. And sorry, chat, but you're going like too fast. We're probably going to, for the most part, ignore most of the chat comments. Sorry. Um. All right. What was some other things? You say that you do not know what exactly to define yourself. I mean, it seems like on the surface that you are like fairly so well, okay, legally speaking you're socially libertarian, but philosophically speaking you might be more somewhat more of the conservative mindset or something like that. Well, birth control, that's obviously something that that's something that you're a little bit more liberal on, but what is it that you disagree with conservatives on? I guess is the best way for me to ask that question. What is it that you disagree with conservatives on? Because I always thought that you're kind of like a conservative yourself.
They push the narrative that Christianity should be taught in school. They push Christian values, and I truly believe in separation of church and state. There's no reason that any religion, because once you allow religion in the school, it's only a matter of time for the dominant religion to take over.
Mm.
So it's stupid. I think they're being stupid. I don't like that.
Are you a Christian or agnostic yourself?
No, actually, I have this running thing that when somebody can guess what my religion is, I will affirm it. But as of yet, nobody has guessed it. So it's
Are
kind of a
you a
fun.
Muslim?
No, no, no. They always ask that. No, the first question people guess is, "Oh, she's from Utah. She's a Mormon." I'm not a Mormon. So we'll let
All
people
right.
guess. It's going to be fun. There's nothing wrong with Christianity. It's just you cannot enforce people to abide by the rules of that religion.
Well, there are some like self-acclaimed conservatives that don't necessarily. Okay, they would kind of prefer that if Christianity was like the social norm, but at the same time, they don't want the government to mandate that yes, you must pray every day, or yes, you must be forced to cite the Pledge of Allegiance, or anything else like that. Just they philosophically hold that more conservative mindset.
Well,
I would kind of
let
take Ben
the
Shapiro to be kind of one of those examples, but go on.
I don't know. I sometimes Shapiro. Uh, I just don't agree with it. I think that church and state have to be completely separate at all times. And the majority of conservatives, they're highly religious. You have the conservative Muslims, you have conservative Christians, you have
Right.
conservative Jews, and you know, so
Yeah, except the conservative Muslims kind of take their conservatism a step further than, excuse me, what general conservative Christians would take it. Like conservative Christians, yeah, you have like the occasional Southern Baptist who will like want to disown their gay son or whatever else have you. But they, generally speaking, they don't go so far to advocating that they should be killed. But it seems to be a higher ratio of conservative Muslims that they do
There's
outright want them mass
obviously
executed.
there's levels of religions, right? So there's levels. Christianity was a step in the correct direction. It was needed to bring us out of the darkness of oppressive religions before it. So it was absolutely the right step forward. Jesus Christ is my favorite prophet of all times. I really he set the stage for something beautiful. Why I disagree with Christians, I'll tell you, is because they keep the Old Testament. So I feel that the Christians would be able to move forward and be even more enlightened in a better place if they just scrap the Old Testament completely. So it's not. I
Well,
love the New Testament,
I don't
but
think necessarily they need to like scrap it, as in like get rid of the text, but they just need to like stop citing it as a source of authority on what is a sin or not. I mean, there are obviously some Christians that go citing Old Testament law to say why this is immoral or that is immoral, why that is a sin and that is not a sin. And I agree. I agree with you. They do make a bad case for Christians. They put Christians in a bad light, and therefore that's why you have all these anti-theists that go like reaming against any type of Christian, whether you are one of those ignorant neocons or whether or not you're one of those more enlightened people that strictly cite the New Testament more than anything else on what moral code Christians ought to follow, you know? But so you referred to Jesus as a prophet, so that kind of implies that you don't think that he is the Messiah or anything else like that.
the Son of God, he might
Yeah.
be. There's a possibility.
Okay.
But I'm saying as like if you were to take the words of all the men of the past and the future and all the true spiritual leaders and what uh, his message is better than any of them. Like he's beyond he he's as close. I can see why they call him the Son of God because he is as close to what you would envision a good, kind God to be.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I'm not a Christian, so I can't say that he's like the Son of God because I'm not. I'm not a Christian.
Well, I guess it's a fair point to make. He was, to some extent, also a prophet, but when people just refer to Jesus as a prophet and not as a Messiah, it kind of like makes me thinking, yeah, they probably don't think that he's the Messiah or anything like that. I mean,
But I will stick up. I stick up for
okay.
Jesus Christ a lot. I've gotten in Facebook fights over people saying that Jesus was a Muslim, which is bullshit because Muslims didn't even come around for 600 more years.
Well, they
And
might be trying to say that he's Arabian or brown or olive skin or
they're
something.
they're just no. They're being stupid and saying, "Oh, I didn't know." No, he was a Jew, right? Isn't that's the story goes that he was a Jew. And I get really upset because he is one of the he's a good spiritual leader. And if he is the son of God, then in particular, I find that offensive. So I do find that I stick up for him more than anyone else.
Mhm.
So there you go.
If they keep the Old Testament, they're Jewish. Yeah, or Seventh Day Adventists. I mean, Seventh Day Adventists, they're kind of weird because they like to try to abide by both the Old and the New Testament. I don't see as to how that you can do that really, because the Old Testament it says that you should like stone sinners. Like, you know, that's kind of a weird thing about Jews. Now that I think about it as well, like Ben Shapiro, for example, he's a devout Judaist himself, and why isn't he stoning sinners himself? I mean, it'd be more of like a question for me to ask an actual Jew, an actual Judaist. But that's that aside, though. Um, I'm offended. I'm offended is not an argument. Okay. Um. Hmm. Trying to remember what other things there was that I was wanting to mention. Geez, I kind of am running a blank right now. What's wrong with Christianity, says Truegrave. I don't think anybody was saying that there's anything really wrong with Christianity. Um, have you like gotten any actual debates yourself? Like live stream debates with any socialists or whatever else have you?
You know, I've tried to get people to debate me, but they won't, the people that I invite. So it's like stupid. Uh, I'm to a point right now where I think debates are kind of useless.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it really comes down to the person that's in the mode and can actually win it, but that doesn't make it a good thing. And so I don't know. I feel like it the way that I'm handling the system now is the best way to move forward is to just stay focused on one area and use that as my expertise to kind of propel our society forward, you know?
Right. Um, you know what? I might ultimately kind of regret somewhat on asking you this question. Um, but this is kind of in connection of what your mainstay topic is, and that being like sex predatory type stuff. Um, do you think that the LGBT community is uh, condoning or complicit, whatever, of pedophilia, generally speaking?
Usually only the cues.
Only the cues.
Uh-huh, because of queer theory. So queer theory is an actual thing, everybody. It's
Well, I
not
don't know
hate
about
speech.
that, but go
It's
on.
called queer theory. And what it is they help to push this idea that children have sexual rights and need to be sexually liberated. And it is only the queers that the ones that understand what queer theory is. Those are the ones that are helping to cause that problem. So it's actually just a tiny little group inside of that group. Inside of that group. There's some terrible statistics out there when you get into it. It's just the problem that we're facing is and since we started down a path of being lied to in the late 40s and that deviance has been taught, you're finding it everywhere, and so you can't pinpoint what exactly is happening here to cause these problems. Like obviously the Catholic Church scandal, all of that deviant behavior, and the majority of those priests happen to be gay. But is it the gay factor or is it just something else?
You know, I find defining is saying that it's mostly just the queers that are like being condoning or complicit of this of pedophilia shit. That seems, I don't know.
It's
It
real. Go look it up. Go look up queer
No.
theory.
The
Go
reason
share it.
why I'm saying that is because
Mhm.
there are some people that will say that they're all queers, like just use queer as kind of a broad brush terminology for
Mhm.
anybody who isn't straight, like
Yeah, those people
gay,
don't
lesbian.
know. They don't know what they're talking about. So I did have a lesbian friend that she called herself queer. And I said, do you know what that means? No, it's just, it seems easier than to say lesbian, right? I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the queers that believe in queer theory. I'm talking about
Okay,
a very specific group. So it's a
weird.
very specific group that believes in queer theory. And some of the other letters, they believe in queer theory as well. There are feminists that believe in queer theory and they're complicit in pushing the pedophile agenda.
Okay, well that's kind of a new subject right there, but
Yeah.
putting like I never heard of that. People who believe in queer theory, as you're putting it. Maybe it's something that I will look up and read an article or two about. But putting
Watch
the
my video. Watch.
putting all the people who believe in queer theory aside, though, all the rest of the LGBT community, though, you don't think that they are generally supportive, condoning, or complicit of pedophilia? Because I'm convinced that is not the case. I mean, I haven't seen the stats to uh, try and prove that, and I kind of had a full-on argument with another guy named Aircraft Sparky about this, and he could not really substantially back
Uh,
up his claim that
the
it is a majority
the problem
who
is
feel that
is
way.
is that pedophilia is a totally separate deviant, a deviation, right? So you have different deviant sex, right? So whatever, if people don't like that term, I'm meaning it in the most scientific way. So if you're deviating from to get pregnant, right? So anything outside of sex to have pregnancy is deviant behavior. So all these deviant
So,
behaviors.
in other words, a straight couple doing BJ's and hand jobs.
Yeah, that would be a deviation, right? So
Okay.
it's a scientific term here. It's not to say they're deviant, scummy people. It's just using a scientific term, okay? So
All right.
most so pedophiles, the people that are predators, that are disgusting monsters that hurt little kids, they are their own special kind of psychopathy. So it's like you can't compare like a serial killer with, say, a rage killer, right? They're two different deviations of a similar crime. So there's there's many pedophiles that rape both males and females, and then there's pedophiles that rape only males, and then there's pedophiles that only rape females. So you have a full-on mixture where I don't say that they promote their ideology in school, because it is leading to problems, but that has nothing to do with them. That again goes back to the queer theory and a
Yeah,
particular group.
I found your videos. I'll put those on my watch later list right now. Actually,
Yeah,
um,
I would suggest to everybody you should check it out, because it's interesting to see this kind of ideology and how it is really harming. It's actually harming the gays too. It harms them as well, because it paints them in a bad light. I kind of feel sorry for
right.
gay people. They barely get their rights, and now their rights are being trampled on because
Yeah,
of other groups.
uh, and both even Humane Mind for that matter. I do not know if anybody here has like heard much about Humane Mind, but Aircraft Sparky and Pumpkin Rose says a comment in the chat. Aircraft Sparky made everyone listening dumber by speaking, referring to the debate I had with him, or not so much of a debate, but that aside. Aircraft Sparky, Humane Mind, and people like that, they like to say that pedophilia is tied in with the LGBT community, supposedly. Say that they are generally complicit or generally, or even condoning or promoting of the practice right there. And when I go trying to research how many gay people or LGBT people are approving of this shit, and I could not find any stats, any approval polls on that. The most that I could find is that apparently 30% of pedophilia acts, child sex predatory type shit, is committed by gay people. I mean, that's an overrepresentation there, kind of in the same way of, the black population being 13% and commit 50% of homicides, whatnot. But it's still ultimately a minority of that group, you know? And
Well,
yet we don't
yeah.
go accusing and generalizing black people as a whole bunch of homicidal maniacs or anything. So it did not make any sense right then and there of why we would generalize LGBT people as being
It's a
promoting of pedophilia just because they
it's
are over representative of the practice of
Yeah.
pedophilia. But
No, it's specific groups, and I think that's done as a red herring, so we can't ever get rid of these disgusting animals, these monsters, these predators. It's just a red herring. When you actually start studying and understanding the pedophile world, which is so deviant and disgusting, it is really a specific type of human being that does that. And it's has nothing to do with being gay, straight, or any of that. The reason why they're allowed to continue on is you could throw it right back at people and say, okay, a lot of people in the Catholic Church knew what was happening. Let it go. A lot of people know of, in certain areas that this is happening. A lot of families will just forgive a pedophile. So everybody is complicit if you don't put your foot down completely. Everybody is complicit. So
Yeah.
if you don't put your foot down, then you're complicit. It has nothing to do with gays, bisexual, and lesbians. It has everything to do with the pathology of a predator. You could compare them with serial killers. That's the easiest way to think about it. They're a particular group of people that have deviated along a natural way and have caved into their sick psychosis.
Yeah. Um, Perhaps since we're kind of on this issue, perhaps you want to like clarify the one video that you titled "Leftist, It's Okay to Be Right Wing on This One Issue," and you was talking about primarily pedophilia and how pedophilia kind of ties into hedonism. And I guess if one was to like be in the extreme camp of being pro hedonism or whatever, a hedonistic extremist, if that's if that's even a term right there, then that would mean that yeah, they would be for allowing pedophilia because them sick fucks like to take hedonistic pleasure in kid diddling, you know? Okay, now that I've gagged right there. um, but yeah, and you said that hedonism is more of a left wing trait, is more of a left wing belief or position.
Well, sexual liberation is to be liberated, right? So you're liberating, you're allowing for freedom, you're not having these staunch rules, right? So to conserve would be to conserve the sexual traits of the past, right? Whereas then you liberate the people, okay? So the problem is that right wing and left wing has just changed so much that doesn't mean fuck all anymore. But the right historically tends to be to conserve what we have, right? To conserve this. And the left
Yeah.
wing wants to change this to progress forward. And the further they go with children's rights, like, so children have the right to do this, children have the right to do that, the natural steps lead you down to they're not going to sell it from the adult standpoint, they're going to sell it from the children have a right to a sexual relationship.
Hmm. And if underage teenagers were to, I don't know, get into their own sexual curiosities with each other, I do not see of how the government would be able to like stamp that out, or how there would be any practical way of really stamping it out, unless you have like a watchful
So you
parents
guys,
watchful eye on it all the
you guys
time.
are confusing pedophilia with hebephilia. Okay, so it's two different things.
Right.
That teenagers, 15, 16, 17, 8 teenagers aren't pedophiles. You're not a pedophile if you're 15 and you're 15 and you hook up. That has nothing to do. That's not even child molestation.
I wasn't trying
yeah.
to. I wasn't trying to
No,
say
no,
that
no, no,
one
no.
teenager going on another teenager is an act of pedophilia. You
No.
kind of laughed when I said that.
It's like the problem is that that's how they're gonna start pushing all of this stuff forward. Is that first it's so we have a big problem. Our big problem is that 16-year-olds send a picture of themselves naked to another 16-year-old, and both of them have just committed a crime, right? It's child pornography. That's what it is. It's illegal. And so we have a big problem, right? Now, what could happen is the state could say, okay, let's not make that illegal anymore. But then you have the problem of, well, there's a lot of 16-year-olds that are sex trafficked. So you just get them their own phone and you force them to send the picture. So you don't know. So when it comes to children, we can't have the same ideological mindset that we have with adults, right? Because an 18-year-old and an 18-year-old doing their thing is totally different than a 13-year-old and a 13-year-old, right? So even though I veer so close to voluntarism, on anarchy, on adults, I the smallest state possible,
Okay.
absolute rights. But with kids, because there's so many predators, it becomes an entirely unique. You know, you can't compare a law for, like, say, an 8-year-old with, say, like, a 15-year-old. But we don't, as a society, we don't take those chunks of time of development and realize how different they are. And we don't think about solutions outside the box. We just go, no, or yes. Do you know what I mean? And it's so frustrating for all of us, I think. For all of us.
Okay. Um, and you mentioned about the right being typically the ones who want to preserve and conserve the status quo, societal norms and traditions more than the left does. My opinion on the definition of conservatism is that it's more relative. Like, say if LGBT rights or issues and whatnot is more of the social norm of a given country, but people want to change it so that it's not allowed or whatever. They would not really be the conservatives, but really the people that want to keep it legal or would be more of the conservatives according to that country's standards or norms or whatever. Or let's not even talk about sex issues. Healthcare, for example. Right now, conservatives are, well, American conservatives obviously are more the conservative position on healthcare because they want to keep it away from being a single payer healthcare here in America. But whereas in Scandinavia or any other European country for that matter, or let's say the UK, the NHS, centralized healthcare, completely centralized, nationalized, all that stuff. If a conservative was to move there, they could call themselves a conservative because they don't want to preserve healthcare as it is for that country. They want to change it. So they would be kind of, I don't know, for lack of better wording, progressive in sort of a sense. What do you think? Do you think that conservative is a relative term or no?
Well, I've come to a place where I'm starting to believe that all these labels are designed to keep us in a box, and that I feel like each and every issue should be approached differently. Like, so you say, okay, do we want universal health care? No. Do you want this kind of health care? Yes. So instead of saying this is a conservative issue and this is not a conservative issue, because you're right, it is. Conservative would change over time, because back when the left and right started, to conserve would be to keep a king, right? So nobody's asking for that. So it does morph and change. And conservative, ultimately, yes, genuinely, if you go by its actual meaning, would be to conserve your society how it is.
Yeah, that's an issue that I had
Yeah.
with Tim Horn when he like did a response video to me. Or originally, I did a response video to him saying that conservative is relative, and he did a response video back to me saying that no, it's not, and it's an objective fact. It's not debatable. The facts don't care about your feelings. He was just, yeah. Yeah, he wasn't even providing a definition of conservative. And my thinking is conservative does not mean you want to preserve the status quo of America or the traditions of America or the traditions of Saudi Arabia or the traditions of UK and whatever country you want to fulfill in there. It just means that you want to preserve the traditions in general, which that is a relative term. I mean, it could be the traditions of really any society that you're living in, just going by that definition.
For sure. For sure. I
And he
agree.
didn't put a definition there. Um, so one thing that I'm kind of curious about, I remember seeing a video that you were talking about Black Pigeon Speaks or something like that. I mean, Black Pigeon Speaks was like one of the people, excuse me, mentioned in that video where you were talking about internet censorship, and internet platforms in general. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Um, and my question is, what do you think about internet censorship and the idea of a Bill of Rights? Internet Bill of Rights.
Okay, that would be cool. Free speech, right? There should be. Why not? Like, there should be freedom of speech. Now the problem
Do you
comes
think?
with, here's the problem that we all run into, is that YouTube is a private company, right? So then you're shitting
Right.
on private companies.
Right.
But private companies cannot discriminate against people because they're black. Private companies cannot discriminate because you're gay, right? I can't say, oh, no gays are allowed on YouTube. That would be against Title 9 or something. I don't know which one, right? So you cannot discriminate based off of sexuality or race, right?
So, okay. So it seems
So
to be kind of what you're getting at is that if the government is to be saying you cannot discriminate based on sexuality, by extension, they should also not be. Okay, internet companies, they're not allowed by the governments to discriminate against anyone based on their sexuality. By extension, they shouldn't be allowed to discriminate against people based on their political beliefs. Do I have that right?
they're philosophical beliefs. Instead of using the term political, that's why everybody's in trouble. So it's philosophical, like religious. You can't just discriminate off of religion either. And philosophy is a kind of would be shoved into that religious realm because all religions are philosophical in nature with obviously the God aspect. But I really think that if you can't discriminate based on color or someone's religion, why can you discriminate against them based off of their philosophy?
Okay. Well, I would not. Okay, never mind that aside. That's kind of a snag that I'd be seeing. I'd be getting in with the Liberal Sanity Project. Like the last live stream that I was on with him, he seemed to be all for allowing companies to discriminate based off of people's beliefs that they hold. But at the same time, he doesn't believe in allowing private companies to discriminate based off of people's sexuality and races and whatnot. That it almost seems to be a bit of an inconsistent snag.
It is
But
inconsistent.
let me ask you this though. Wouldn't it be better if like the government was to like allow private companies to discriminate based off of anything and everything that they want to, be it sexuality, race, or political beliefs in
Only
general?
I I don't I don't think so unless you get rid of copyright laws. Then fine. So if let's say
Yeah,
it's a
although
tough one. It's a tough one, right? It's a tough one. It it's
whatever
like
whatever opinion that people have about copyright laws, I mean, I haven't so much fully made up my mind on that, but I don't really find that to be so much of an
well
interconnecting
they're
issue with the
protecting well so they're
discrimination laws.
protecting intellectual property, right? And so it's just as though they protect certain thoughts. So they protect intellectual thought, they protect sexuality thought, they protect religious thought. But the one thing that everybody can discriminate against is political thought. So that either you have no discrimination, which I would love. I think that would be awesome.
You
Let's
think the you
let's
think
play. Let's
you
play.
you think the
Discrimination
ideal
all around.
you think the ideal would be to allow people to discriminate based off of anything then?
Yeah, I would. I would think that's ideal.
All
But
right.
since we're not allowed to, then they shouldn't, then you have to add on that very final piece of your philosophical beliefs. It's the only thing that's left off of everybody else. You can't discriminate for these actions, but for some reason, your philosophical beliefs are up for grabs. So either have none or have it complete.
Um I guess it does kind of make sense, but if I was to like argue for devil's advocate though, for the liberals like LSP who say discriminate based off of beliefs, but not off of identity, arbitrary identity. Um, to argue for devil's advocate, well, they can choose whatever the belief that they want to, but they cannot choose whatever skin color, sex they are, or whatever sexual orientation they are. So what would you say? So therefore, it's a different story of discriminating based off of belief versus identity. What would you say in response to that?
You can choose the way you look now. I can go and get my face completely done over. I can change my skin color. I can change my hair. I can become a man. I can become an it. I can do anything, and nobody would know that I'm not really it. So, therefore, that argument no longer holds water because we can change. I can choose. I can choose. I could be a lesbian right now if I chose to. I can be pansexual. I can be anything I want. So how
Well,
is that even? No, no, it's true though. If I were to go and change myself physically, I could change myself to look physically. So
okay,
therefore, I
no,
do
no, no.
have a choice.
I'm not really disagreeing that you can like physically change yourself, although it would be kind of phony because you can like play blackface all you want, but ultimately, if somebody was to like do a DNA reading of you, it would be Caucasian. But that aside, though, I don't think you can like change at all your sexual orientation. It's not
How do
like
you
an
know?
overnight. It's
Okay,
not an overnight thing that I
but
can like. What?
that
Wait. If I may, because I never really was fully convinced of the whole you can choose what sexuality, what kind of lust that you have or whatever, based off of my personal experience. Because for the longest time in my childhood and even my teenage years, I did not primarily like uh, black women. But as soon as I started working over at a restaurant and started just getting out of my little bubble and whatnot, and started being exposed more towards black women, my lusts and primary sexual orientation started to change a little bit. I don't think it's choice. I don't think that people are born with it necessarily either, but I think it's more of influence of what your surrounding environment is that kind of influences your sexual orientation. But go on.
no, I was going to say is that the more that we do neuroscience, right, the more we dig into it, it would seem that certain people are primed towards certain ideals. So, in a way, a lot of people on some primal level, we are not choosing our philosophical or political stance. Like you are not going to be persuaded to change your view on abortion and the being repelled by murder, right? So you're repelled by it. So it is your, were you born that way or was it formed over time? And until we can
Right.
question that, it's kind of like the same thing in my mind is you know, there's both nurture and nature. And so that I'm more inclined towards this kind of thing. And maybe my nature brought me this way, but it has to be both. It has to be both. There is a little bit of both in everything. So I don't know. I
I,
just,
yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but it's just I'm not fully convinced. Okay, nature and nurture, that's more convincing than saying that yes, it's definitely is choice. Damn it, there's something else that you mentioned I kind of wanted to address.
well, no, they've discovered that, like, say that serial killers, they have a propensity towards it, right? If
Oh
you,
wait, now I
okay, go
remember.
ahead.
Now I remember what I was wanting to mention. Hugo mentioned that's kind of a nurture sort of thing as to what beliefs that people ultimately get. And I guess there is a bit of a point to be made there. I mean, I could claim to suddenly be, oh, yeah, I'm pro choice. I believe that abortion is now no longer an immoral thing and it's okay, just fine and dandy, even a good thing if people are to get an abortion. But really, in my heart and mind, I'd probably still be thinking to myself, I'm disgusted at myself. Like, why am I saying this? Like, basically, I'd just be pretending, just being a big old faker and phony and whatnot. So, I guess that's the point that you're trying to make there. That
Exactly.
when it comes to
Exactly.
beliefs.
Yeah.
All right. So, what were you wanting to say there?
No, I was just going to say that, like, so serial killers, right? There's there's certain pathways they can take to avoid being serial killers. They found that, like, if a serial killer in the making were to get into high risk sports, they won't end up serial killers. Like, we're talking rock climbing, extreme, extreme sport. So there has to be something inside of us that pushes us and moves us in a certain direction. And also we can change it a little bit with a little bit of thing. And so that's really what
What
I'm
was
all
that? You
about.
said your audio went kind of out there for a second.
Yeah, I think I figured out what's happening is that we had a really big snowstorm. And every once in a while I'm hearing the power go on and off. But luckily I have everything like hooked up. But that's probably what's happening. So why don't we wrap this up for me so I can go and take care of some things? Does anyone have like a weird question? You want like a weird question that I'll answer?
Okay. I don't really see any necessary questions, but I think that we have gone on for quite a while. I mean, I don't typically like these interviews going on for longer than 2 hours, and I apologize for that bit of silent moment right there where I was all like, "Oh, I lost my train of thought. What's another subject to talk about? Hurry up, Zach! Come on." um, JC Armitage asks, "Wait, did toxic threads imply abolishing copyright laws?" Like I guess that's something to kind of ask you. Like, are you ultimately,
Like I
ideally, are you for abolishing copyright laws?
like I said, I really do lean towards voluntarism, which is like
And that's so.
anarchy type situation where I don't think using the power of the state is good. And so I think at the time that it was made, it was for a good reason. But all the information that I've watched recently, because I'm just barely getting into that, all the information that I've watched, if you go to the Corbett report, CORBETT report, he has some interesting guests that are talking about copyright law. So I'm leaning towards abolishing it, but I'm not going to give it 100% yet until I have solid ground on that. But it's,
Mhm.
you know, I'm
Yeah,
leaning towards abolishing it.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, there are some beliefs that I'm kind of questioning myself as to what solid stance I should take. I mean, abortion is like one of those is not one of those issues, though. I do have a solid stance on that more, um, particularly 7 weeks and onward. And even when it comes to the whole rape and incest exception, I am against abortion on those grounds. Life of mother, that's the only real exception that I'd be for allowing, just as an example, but I'm getting kind of rambly. Um, JC Armitage asks, "Ooh, I've got one. Are traps gay?
Are what gay?
Are traps gay?"
What is that? What is that? I heard it the other day and I don't even know what it is.
I think referring to traps as well. Okay, there are two ways that the term trap is referred to. The first way, and no, I'm not talking about booby traps, by the way. The first way that trap is referred to is in its kind of official way, is men that dress in drag and try to lure in other men to try and get
Oh.
in bed with them. And the other way of that traps is used is kind of a slur against more legitimate trans people. You know.
Oh. Are they gay? Well, if they like the same sex, then yeah, they're gay. I don't even, so like, so
It's.
who's
I
the
think it's more
who's
of a
the
funny
most
question.
who's the most famous? It's like Blair White. Blair White is gay, right? Blair White is with a dude.
Although I don't know about
He
her
has a
circumstance. I
he
don't.
has a penis still, and he likes dick. So if you like dick, or he could be bi. He could be bi.
Okay. I guess that's kind of a slight disagreeing issue. I don't know. I have kind of a weird belief when it comes to trans issues that definitely deviates from the right. Like, I think there is some legitimate circumstances of, again, a trans procedure. Like, if you legitimately were physically intersex,
Well, I
like,
don't. Yeah, no, that I don't disagree with, but I don't want it to be confusing. Like if you're a dude, even if you look and present like a female, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But I just still think if you like a dude, then you're gay. Like you're gay.
and I
But
think that one thing that would kind of definitely more solidly make up my mind on an individual level is if a person was to like get the surgery done for their genital region, as
but to
uncomfortable
be
that is to
fair,
mention.
like so to be fair, so a lot of the so you a lot of the trans they'll see the kind of maintenance they have to keep up, and it could be quite painful. Like when you're taught that is like a lifetime decision for them, right? So that's a lifetime, and then there's always maintenance. People forget that if you do plastic surgery, kind of plastic surgery, you have to maintain it. And it is a lifetime of maintenance. So, I mean, the cost and all of that stuff, I think some of them genuinely do want to get rid of it. Or,
Hmm.
well, women really can't build anything. I guess they can. But
Yeah.
I think sometimes they're genuine. They just don't, you know, that lifetime of doing all that is kind of like a lot of a high price to pay. You know.
Cat Chat says mentioned something interesting in the chat. She says, and hello, by the way, Modwayne Lauren, nice for you to drop by the channel. But Cat Chat says, abortion has to be intentional and desired for it to be abortion. In Life of Mother, no one wants the baby to die, but there's little they can do. So, Life of Mother exception on abortion isn't technically considered an abortion. And I almost think that that might be what True Grave is thinking as well, maybe, because he says Life of Mothers is not real, referring to that exception on abortion. I don't know. Modwayne Lawrence says the real question is, why would someone be enforced how other people? The real question is, why would or why should someone be enforced how other people think about them? What? That was a that was a weirdly worded question right there, Modwayne. It was rather kind of jaded, confusing to read.
No, I think what he's saying is the left is constantly calling people like you names because of your belief structure. So that is a good question. Why is the left so hell-bent on forcing you to think the way that they do? And they're policing your thoughts, which is weird. Like that's where we're at. You would think they would at least go, okay, so he's against abortion, big deal. But no, they go out of their way to harm you, talk shit about you, and lie about you.
Call me anti-bodily autonomy and even a Nazi-inspired fascist and all that shit. I guess I need to drop the Pico for me to stop getting accused of being a Nazi anything. But anyway, Pumpkin Rose says kind of a balls-busty kind of question. I guess your religion, it's statism. He actually said it twice.
I know, that's funny. That's not my religion, but good guess.
Alicia Clegg, meet Pumpkin Row in the chat, my hardcore agorist follower who drops in the chat every now and then. We like him, though, even though he can be annoying at times. A trap is a feminine-looking male who dress in women's clothing, says JC Armitage. All right. There was something else that I was wanting to mention. I think it was something in relation to abortion, but I cannot quite remember it. Oh yeah. I just wanted to say very quickly, because I did not mention it earlier, the way that I would approach the whole issue of being anti-bodily autonomy or anti-woman or whatever, the way that I would approach it is if somebody was to say that, more particularly the more libertarian pro-lifers, they are, or we are, for rights of women and whatnot, as long as it doesn't affect second party. The issue with abortion, that does affect second party who did nothing wrong, that of course being the unborn baby. So therefore it isn't inherently anti-woman. I mean, if a conservative is approaching it from an anti-woman perspective, like, oh, women are literally property, so therefore don't get your abortion because your man does not approve of it, well then, yeah, that is anti-woman. But generally speaking, pro-lifers that I go speaking to, they're more concerned with the life of the baby. I don't want this little baby to die, or more precisely, be actively killed by that abortion doctor, so therefore don't do that. But no, they're just all like, no, you're anti-woman. No, I'm pro-baby life. No, you're anti-woman. Screw you, guy. It's hopeless. And it kind of goes the same for the whole anti-bodily autonomy thing. I am pro-bodily autonomy for anyone. You can do anything that you want. Put drugs in your system, get a trans procedure, whatever else, as long as it doesn't affect second party. But second party in the case of abortion, that being unborn baby. Yeah. Well, I think that is where we are going to wrap it up. Alicia, you have anything to say before we go off air?
Well, come on over to my channel, guys, and look at that queer be frightened by what you find, and it'll kind of help to understand why some people that don't understand it fully are lumping gay people in with the pedos when it's not. It's actually the queer theory that's doing it. It has nothing to do with gays. It has to do with this weird spectrum of grossness that these people came up with. I don't know. It's really weird, but that's all I have. Thank you for having me on your show, though. It was fun.
Yep, it was a pretty good and intellectual conversation. By the way, Alicia, your audio did kind of drop out for a second there, but what to clarify to everybody, what Alicia said was check out her queer theory videos. Like, go to her channel and search up queer theory, and it's easy enough to search there. I just found it myself. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you all for participating. Mod Wayne, Jay Will, Pumpkin Road, True Grave, Cat Chat, all the good, lovely people of the Dark Conservatarian fan base. I will have to do a news show sometime because I've been talking about reporting or talking about the whole California power outage issue that Dawn had mentioned a few weeks back, but I just never really got to that. Been kind of procrastinating, and now there's this UK bridge attack, terrorist attack that happened recently. But anyway, I'm the Dark Conservatarian. This is my guest, Toxic Threads. Again, Toxic, thanks for coming on. It's been nice to finally get introduced to you and acquainted. And see y'all later. God bless and good night. Take care.